The Canister is a really brilliant episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. This is the 19th episode of the 5th season. This is directed by Halvorson, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And I just want to see if this is top rated on IMDb. It is. It's the second top-rated episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, at least at the time of recording this. So needless to say, a lot of people really love this, and it's so easy to see why. It starts off establishing that it's Easter. Ali and Ray have been painting eggs for Easter eggs, and Marie comes over and she wants her canister back. And Debra said, I returned the canister, and Marie insists that she didn't. She would remember it because it was her mother's canister, and there's a special place on her shelf for it, and that space is empty. Robert then comes over in a panic because Frank got into the Easter ham, and then Debra insists again that the canister isn't in her house. She said to Marie, what I say and what I do seem to mean very little to you. And it started to feel like, because she was so certain she didn't have it, I started to wonder if maybe she did. But then Marie apologises and hugs Debra. She doesn't want to ruin Easter. It's a really strange moment. And clearly everybody else in the house thinks this as well. And we have it's almost, I don't think it was intentionally meant to completely be a parody of a horror film, but it definitely has some horror parody moments because Marie leaves and then Ali appears as if out of nowhere and says, is this what Grandma was looking for? And there's the mysterious canister. And Debra's response was absolutely fantastic. It turns out that Debra had said that Ali could keep her crayons in the canister. She obviously wasn't paying too much attention, didn't really realise it was that canister, and Ali kept her crayons in it. And Ray and Robert are very concerned about this because obviously Marie has to find out somehow after she just apologised, even though she knew that she did not have the canister. It was a very bizarre moment. And Debra says the only thing she can do is go over and tell Marie, and she's about to, but then Ray and Robert don't stop her, and she's really annoyed that they didn't stop her. So she says there's only one thing she can do, and she decides to put it in the trash. And for a good 30 seconds, she's wrestling with the trash. It's so funny. I don't condone it. I don't think she should have put it in the trash, but she did. She put it at the top of the bags and put it outside with the outside garbage. It is worth pointing out that it's quite a bulky canister. The bag of the bin bag was quite full, and it was kind of see-through. If she's just putting that outside, Marie's going to see that. But that's not what happens. Everybody's getting ready to go over to Marie's. And the canister falls down the stairs in the house. And there we have another horror element. And I absolutely loved it. It's a terrifying moment. It's very, very effective. How did the canister get back in the house? Is it alive? Well, no, it's not. The boys had been digging through the garbage looking for Easter eggs. So they opened the garbage bag. So again, it would have been very obvious for Marie had she walked past it. But they found the canister and took it in from the garbage. And they come up with a new plan. They're going to try and return it. So Ray puts on a really bulky jacket, a bulky coat as they go over, hiding the canister, of course. And Debra goes through to the kitchen with Marie distracting her because her potatoes are nowhere near as good as Marie's cooking. So she wants Marie's help, which I thought was a smart idea. And Ray is trying to find somewhere to put this canister. And Robert comes in and he panics because the canister's returned, and it's dramatic, it's funny, I really love it. And then Marie walks back into the room and Robert is looking at her. Ray has his back to her and Ray's holding the canister. We can see the canister. Marie can't. It's just out of her field of vision. And it's really, really suspenseful. And Robert practically leaps on Ray to give him a hug, to hide the canister, of course. And Marie joins in and they have this family hug. And Robert kisses Ray on the forehead, which was overkill. But it's a really, really funny moment. And then Debra comes in to see what all the commotion is about. Marie has left the room at this point. And Debra's about to leave with the canister, and Frank catches her. And Frank's more amused than anything else, but what he does next is getting me a little emotional, actually. It's really, really lovely because Marie comes in and catches Frank with the canister, and it's very dramatic, and obviously she's confused why has Frank got the canister, and he says to her, "I was hiding it from you. I thought it would be funny." Which obviously is not what Marie wants to hear. She doesn't think it's funny. And he takes the blame for it. And when Marie leaves the room, she really shouts at him. She gets really annoyed at him. And it could, I don't want to say it could end their marriage, because obviously it doesn't. But that's kind of the tone of her voice, that this is an unacceptable way to treat your wife. And it was really serious for a moment. And she leaves the room. And Debra asks Frank, "Why did you do that?" And he said to her, genuinely getting emotional, he said to her, "You're like my daughter." And it's very rare that Frank shows any emotion. And he does, but it's not, compared with other characters, it's not that frequent. And certainly it's a trait he's passed down to Raymond. And in that moment, it's really emotional. In that moment, we get to see that softer side of Frank. And we get to see that he cares about Debra. And that, well, as he said, he thinks of her like his own daughter. And then he followed up by saying, "She was going to yell at me like that later. I ate the backside of the ham." And then all we hear is Marie yelling Frank. Very funny. And the final scene is quite moving as well, actually. Marie still thinks it's Frank, and she comes over to the house with the canister, and she gives it to Debra. And this is really moving as well. I don't know why I'm getting quite so emotional at this. She gives the canister to Debra because, well, now it represents Frank taking it from her, and obviously that's not great. But I think the significance there is that it was her mother's canister, and now she's passing it on to her daughter-in-law. And there we see, perhaps, she also thinks of Debra as a daughter-in-law. Marie doesn't often have very nice things to say about Debra, or when she does, it's usually a backhanded compliment, or she'll compliment her and say, "I didn't expect that from you." And here we have her passing on, I guess, a family heirloom. Yes, it's now tainted because of Frank, but it's still, I think, a really important moment. And Debra doesn't want it because it's guilt in a can, as she calls it. And it was just a really fun way to end the episode. And it's a really moving episode, very funny, very dramatic. As a horror fan, I really appreciated the the dramatic entrance of the canister as it made its presence known, falling down the staircase. It was very, very effective. And Ali popping up out of nowhere with it. It was brilliant. It's a really solid episode. And as I said, it's the second top rated on IMDb. I didn't know that watching it and before I sat down to do this review, but it was only when I realised, oh, it's got 8.8. I think it's 8.8. Let me double check that. Yes, 8.8 out of 10. That's very high, and I thought it was pretty perfect. And yeah, it seems like a common opinion. The Canister is a phenomenal episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. I think it might be one of my favourites. We also have some great character development, well, with Frank and revealing how he really feels about Debra. Possibly the same with Marie there. Also Marie hugging Debra because she doesn't want to ruin Easter. It shows that there are some things that are more important to Marie than being right, and more important to Marie than proving or suggesting she's better than Debra. Because in that moment, Marie still believed Debra had it, but she would rather have a nice family Easter than cause this conflict. So some really great moments, very funny, very dramatic. The Canister is absolutely perfect.